Hi, welcome to What's New in Writable, our back to school webinar. This is part of the Writables Academy's mini courses. My name is Kelly Burnett. I am going to be leading our session today. I want to just thank you all for joining us. I know this is a busy time of year for teachers, and the Writable team has been working really hard this summer to come up with a lot of new features, new content, all of which we will go over today. So to start off with today's session, I'm actually going to ask Tess to throw up a quick poll, if she would. And I'd like to kind of just get a feel of how comfortable we are with Writable in this group today. All right, so it seems like we have a lot of new attendees that are brand new to Writable. That's great. We're so welcome. So glad that you're here. Welcome. And then some new kind of started using Writable and some pretty confident. So that is great. We're going to go ahead and get started. So let's go over our agenda today. So today we're going to be covering how Writable connects reading and writing. We're going to cover a lot of new features and new assignments in this, including some new content, our updated Explore page, and some create your own assignment changes that actually make it a lot easier for you. In addition to that, we're going to talk about feedback improvements, some AI insights to make grading easier, some ways that you can provide feedback more quickly to students and right in the moment before they even submit. And then lastly, we'll talk about reports. So we have proficiency reports, recommendation reports, and then we also have some reading skills that we're going to talk about that are now in our reports. And as I mentioned, we will wrap up with some additional resources and take some questions at that point and throughout our session. So feel free to throw those in the chat. All right, and one last thing before we get really diving in is we just want to say welcome back to writing. Writable is constantly having new releases, new features based on your feedback that we listen to, based on what we know you're teaching in the classroom. So if you would like to keep up with Writable's new features, we do have a What's New article that's linked in these slides, and you can go visit that and see what's going on here at Writable and what's new for you. With that said, let's jump into connecting reading and writing. So we know that reading and writing are invariably connected. And in Writable, more than ever, we have included reading skills in our assignments. First, let's talk about some new assignments and new content in the Writable Explore library. I'm just going to give a quick overview of these, and then when we go into Explore, I'll show you where to find them. So first, we have our SEL collection, our social emotional learning collection. Specifically, this is a growing collection of assignments focused on those social emotional skills for students and really engaging prompts. The thing that I want to feature here is that we have some that are focused on back to school, which is great for this time of year. In addition to timely assignments, we have our Hispanic Heritage Month assignments. There are 6 assignments per grade level band, and some of them are YouTube biographies, so they have these great videos. The other thing is some of them have poetry and music built into them. So it's a really, really wonderful assignment collection for your students. In addition to that, we have text sets for practice or diagnostics. And so these will have multiple texts and multiple reading comprehension questions, in addition to other questions for students in grades 6 through 12. And lastly, our response to reading from trusted media sources is constantly growing. We've recently added some high school assignments as well. So that's a lot. Promise I will show you exactly where to find those in the app in just a moment. Kind of takes us to our next assignment, features. Now we have new content that's really focused around reading and building and reading skills. How do we get that in our assignments? First, we have our improved assignment creation wizard, and that has some reading skills. We have our updated Explore page. We're going to go through all this in the app, and then improved editing functionality on assignments. And that is really great for adding your own reading skills to an existing assignment as well. With that being said, I'm going to pop into the app. I am a teacher in this app in Writable right now. And in my assignments, I usually start here on my assignments. We're going to explore today. So I'm going to just click on Explore right at the top of the page. Now, as I mentioned, all of those great new assignments, we now have a featured section in Explore. So at the top of the page, you're going to see this featured section with 3 of our curated collections just for you, just for your grade level. One of the great things to note, again, these are usually timely. So we have Hispanic heritage, we have back to school prompts, and then some of our new response to reading. If you are not high school, I defaulted to high school. I don't want to be remiss in missing out on our elementary and middle school students, our teachers. We have elementary and we have middle. So you can pick whichever grade level band you'd like to work with and start to explore from here. Aside from featured, we have our categories here listed on the side, as well as you can just scroll down and find those. One thing I want to point out is that as I'm scrolling over a tile, if I see something that catches my eye, I can just hover over it and have a quick summary, see if that's what I'm looking for, if I want to check more into those assignments. And that is one of the great things here in this new Explore. It's a little bit easier to kind of navigate and find things. In addition to the social emotional learning and Hispanic heritage, I mentioned response to reading and text sets for practice and for diagnostics. So I'm going to be here in my readings and media section, and I'm just going to show real quick what this looks like if we click into a new tile. Watch my time. It's going to show me all of the assignments and collections, and I can click open and I can copy the assignment or preview this as a student, which is a great first step to make sure that that's what you want to see. That's the assignment you want to use. This is a lot of new UI, new journey through Explore if you've been with Writable before, but it sounds like most of you are new. So hopefully this will be a great explanation of how to find these assignments. Again, we're really looking for what's the category. This is another big one, curricular resources, skills activities. Here's the SEL assignments. We also have differentiated instruction and grammar here. All right, let's pop back over into our slides. And the next thing we're going to talk about is creating our own assignment. And so I mentioned we have the new Explore. Some of those are really built around reading. We're still connecting reading and writing. In our create your own assignment wizard, we do have a new intuitive way of creating the exact assignment you'd like to build. So this is just an example of what this looks like. We'll look at it in the app, but basically you can choose if you want to include a reading and what the format of your assignment is. So here you can see I've chosen plan and write. I want a graphic organizer, and then I want my students to write a response. But below that, we see short response, which is actually going to be a series of short response questions and multiple choice questions. And the great thing about those is that they are tied to reading skills. So, and can be tied to reading skills. So I'm going to go to my assignments. And let's talk a little bit about this. If I click create new assignment, we're just going to look at this in the app. Again, I think it's nice to be able to click around, kind of encourage some questions. If you'd like to build your own assignment with a reading, you would select that. And you can also select whichever type of format you'd like to build. Now, what I wanted to share really quickly for you is that this is not something to be afraid of. This is a very intuitive guide. It's going to take you step by step. I'm going to click let's go and just give you a quick glance. So here I'm adding a reading. It's going to ask me to add a question and then finish up, and I can assign this to my students. We won't go too deep into this, but this has been reworked. So it's really intuitive. It's really customizable. And again, we added reading skills into this. So as you create these assignments with short response questions, you'll see that there are response to literature and response to information reading skills. This is just a quick glance here of some of the skills that are included that you can link to those questions. And what's really great about this is that these do also show in reports. So this is just an example of a teacher dashboard report. You'll see that demonstrate comprehension is here. This is a growth report if I wanted to compare it to another assignment later on. So it's a great way of seeing how your students are doing, not only on writing skills, but also in reading skills. And we will talk a little bit more about reports. But for now, oh, there's our new Explore. The other thing I wanted to share about the Explore that I kind of didn't mention earlier, there's over 1,000 assignments and prompts. So when I say you can create your own assignment, you absolutely can. But when you're getting started, for those of you who are new to Writable, you can find one of these assignments that fits your needs and just hit copy and assign and get started right away. So it is a highly it's a highly customizable program, but it's also really easy to just kind of grab and go with over 1,000 assignments and prompts in our Explore library. And we talked, and then next, assignment editing. So I mentioned that you can copy and share an assignment. You can create your own assignment. You can copy and assign. The other thing that you can do is edit an assignment. So I'm going to save this for later. So once you copy an assignment into Writable, for those of you who are new, we won't go too deep into this, but just so you know, again, when I say customizable, I mean it. In assignment settings, this is new, but it's new to you, so this is great. We have a little bit different of a look here. So we edit our prompts here. You can have multiple prompts in an assignment. You can have differentiated prompts for those of you who are new to Writable. So if you have students on different levels, you can have differentiated prompts with additional scaffolds. And then you can also edit the sections of the assignment if you have more than one section. You see here on this assignment, we do have a reading, and I have a comprehension section with short response questions. So this is just a quick glance of what this looks like. And again, these are things that you can build into yours or find pre-made in Writable.
I think I just want to add, because somebody mentioned into reading, and we may have a number of wonderful HMH users with us, that you can also edit your into reading or into lit or E3D assignments in Writable. So as soon as you see those assignments after launching from Ed, you can copy them, you can edit them, you can add, video recordings to them, you can add additional readings, really make it your own, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so in Explore, I'm kind of maybe glanced over it, but there is an HMH curriculum section. So if you are an HMH school or district, then once you launch, you'll see your assignments here, and it works much in the same way. Thanks for bringing that up, Tess. I appreciate it. All right. All right, so we covered the new Explore, the new editing assignments, and all of that new amazing content, this SEL and the Hispanic Heritage Month, and our response to reading and text sets for diagnostics and practice. Whew, that's a lot. But the other thing that we want to talk about today is feedback improvements. So we're going to talk about AI insights, how to view a student's current draft so you can guide them, and also how to send feedback, which is a new feature to actually give partial feedback on student writing. To do this, I'm going to go into my teacher account again, and I'm going to get an assignment here that's open that I've assigned to some students. So for those of you who are new, like I said, just kind of follow along and you'll get a really good overview of some of the grading options here in Writable. For those of you who have been around, you can see that there is an AI Insights option here. So we have the tools of Revision Aid, Grammar Aid, and Originality Check for AI Insights. So Revision Aid really focuses on the content, the technical writing, and then Grammar Aid is a lot of the grammar and the spelling and some of the word choices and style choices. And then of course, the Originality Check is powered by Turnitin and looks for similarities across students' writing. Now, while you can see this on the dashboard report, what's great is now if I want to look at my students' writing and see these insights, I can just click right in. And up here, I can look at the AI reports. So I chose Grammar Aid, and I can see these are the suggestions that can be made to my student using this tool. Now, currently, you'll see down here in student supports, I don't have any of these enabled for my students, but as a teacher, I get to see it regardless. So I can use this to help grade, give some feedback. The other thing that I can do, if I see a lot of mistakes here and I think my student needs this extra support, I can enable this specifically for the student. So if I check that box, that's a new feature. I can just turn it on for the student or disable it for the student. And in addition to that, you'll see it popped up with a comment. I can let the student know that I've turned this on. That brings me to my next point about live conferencing. So in this box, this is enabling Grammar Aid. I'm just gonna let them know, send a quick message. I can also put in a comment here about what they're writing. So I can personalize this. You're doing great. Or something more constructive. So this is a great way of seeing what they're doing in live time and sharing feedback right in the moment. Now, if the students aren't writing right now, but they haven't finished, they haven't submitted, the other thing that we added here is the grade now button. So I've clicked into my student. I'm going to click into a new student here. Let's go to this one. And I'm going to hit grade. Oh, let's see. Let's hit grade now. Now, in the past, if you've used Writable, if you're new to Writable, one of the things to note here is that it would help if I knew which student I need to grade here. I need to grade a different student because I've already graded them. Is that in the past, you had to completely grade a student's writing after they've submitted. So you had to wait till they submitted their writing, and then you had to wait and give a full feedback. Now, one of the things that you can do is if you see that students are going off track, you can share immediate feedback. So here I can just start to add a comment and share it with the student, even though they haven't submitted it. I can also share partial responses here. I can add my comments with my comment sten, which is a great way of saving some time, and click submit. And I've only graded on one thing. So it's kind of like a partial review. It's not going to count in their grades. It's just going to give them feedback right there, right in the moment. All right. So that is some of our new AI insights. We talked about partial grading. We talked about giving some feedback right in the moment. I'm going to go through that real quick. So again, the AI insights, those are the revision aid, grammar aid, and originality check that can be enabled for your students so that they can get suggestions while they're in their writing and revision process. But you can also view it as a teacher to help you with grading. And then we talked about viewing the reports or the grade now and the partial review. Last up, we've talked about connecting reading and writing. We've talked about those feedback options. The last thing we want to talk about today is new reports. So reporting features are one of the things that we know that, we need to know where students are, where are they going, and how well are they doing. Today, we're going to talk mostly about the proficiency and recommendation report, which is a new report that we've introduced with a lot of hard work, and it's really exciting to see. It is very visual. It shows class proficiency across reading and then the 3 key writing genres. And then it uses proficiency data and actually will show your differentiated groups and recommendations for next assignments, which we're really excited about. And it makes my teacher heart happy. In addition to that, we do have a growth report. That one's been around, but it is a great way of comparing data between 2 assignments and looking at the individual skills as well. So it's a great way of planning instruction. If you're new to Writable, I encourage you to check out both reports once you get going with your diagnostics and your baseline assignments. And this is just a little bit of a view of how these look in the assignment and in the app. So we have the proficiency and recommendation and the growth report. We have detailed articles about both of these, but today we're going to go in and kind of play around with building a report in proficiency and recommendation so that those of you who are familiar with reports, you can get a kind of hands-on feel for how this looks. All right. So I'm going to click on report here. And as my teacher here, I'm going to click build report. And I'm going to set my parameters around this report. Now, if you have an admin or you are an admin, you would have access to more than one school. If you are a teacher, you can do this for all of your classes at once. You can do individual classes in different grades. So you get to pick what you'd like to see, including a date range, which is great if you're looking across a quarter or a semester. The types of assignments, and then you can select which ones you'd like to include. So you'll see all of them, and then you can pick which ones you want to include in your report and click Run Report. Now, that happened really quickly. It's just going to pop up with this information, and I love this visual because I think it's really nice to just kind of get a quick view. I can see that my students are doing pretty well in argumentative, pretty well in narrative, pretty well in informational, but I've got some big narrative below expectations here. So you'll see that there's a small guide here, and you can even change what these different parameters are. One thing I'll note is that in this kind of demo environment, I don't have reading skills yet, but that would also show up here. Today, we're going to pick on, let's do narrative. We'll pick details, and you'll see what happens next. So we're going to kind of drill down. We see the student names and we're going to see them in each of their groups. I can click on an individual student if I'd like to see more detail. I can see how they've grown across the first and the last assignment, if it's gone up or gone down. And my favorite part about this, so for example, for my approaching students, they're almost there, they're so close. If I click recommend, it's going to actually recommend specific assignments that I can apply or assign and copy to these students specifically. So if I'm looking at write an informational narrative or write a literary narrative, I can click on assignments. I'm going to go here, see, use narrative techniques. I notice that that's below, that's where my students are struggling in this group. So if I click assignments, I can see that this is an assignment that Writable is recommending these students to practice this skill. I can preview it and copy it to my assignments where I can customize it. I can assign it to them. I can choose a prompt. I can adjust the rubrics, or I can assign it directly to these students. So this is a great way of differentiating support. It's a new feature. I'm very excited about being able to give you all actionable steps after you collect the data and get those reports for how students are doing. So that is our proficiency and recommendation report. I'm going to try to navigate my way back on the screen to our slides. We do have this video, I believe. Yep. Awesome. Tess already shared it in the chat. So data and reporting in Writable. This has a quick overview of all of these reporting options and how to use them with your students and across your school. And that is it. That kind of covers our 3 areas. So just a quick recap, we did connecting and reading and writing with assignments, new content, and new create your own reading skills, as well as our new Explore page, which looks lovely. And then we talked about our feedback options with the AI Insights tools, which you can customize which students are seeing them and use them to help guide your your grading, as well as the immediate feedback and the partial review that you can give students to kind of guide them right in the moment. And then lastly, the reporting, which we have the new proficiency and recommendation report alongside our existing amazing growth report. Now, all that to be said, it's a lot to cover. So we wanted to also share how to find some support. In Writable, when you're in the app, you'll always see your icon in the top right corner and a little question mark next to it. That question mark will open our Learn With Us Blade, which is our help center, where you can search your questions. And then most importantly, I want to point out that there is a chat box at the bottom. It says chat with us. The reason I really want to call that out is a lot of times you might be talking to me. So I hope you come in if you're in there and you have something that pops up. How can I do this? Where can I do this? You just need some help. That's what we're here for, to help you. So this is just kind of highlighting that. If you happen to come up with a question, you're not on Writable, you can also email us at support@writable.com. So the last couple things, we do have a calendar that you can join us, schedule a meeting with our team if you are unable to get your answer in chat. I always recommend that first. It's probably the quickest way to reach us. And then lastly, I'm just going to plug the Writable Academy and our webinars. This is a huge learning opportunity. You can ask your questions here in chat. And again, in 2 weeks, we'll do Writable 101. So if you're new to Writable, please join us. We'll walk through all of the basics and foundational steps. All right. I think that is it for us. We're about a minute over. Thank you all again for joining. Thank you, Tess, for joining us and helping in chat. And if you have any other questions, we'll stick around for another few minutes. But I hope you all have a good evening and afternoon.